So, without further ado, I want to introduce our guests, Michael and Alex from Transpose. They're the co-founders, and they've done a demo with us before. I want to say like 2 months ago, maybe already. Time flies, I guess. It was awesome, but they've made a lot of progress in the meantime. And right now, they've integrated SQL into their tool, and they've created an environment they call the playground, and another cool thing called the Atlas. So we're very excited to hear about all of that. And without further ado, I would say the floor is yours.
Helix, thank you so much for that great introduction. It's awesome to be back with the Metrics DAO community. We're really excited to show you all what we've been working on. So this is Michael here from the Transpose team, and I've got Alex with me as well. Alex, you want to say hi?
Yeah, sounds good, Michael. You might have to mute yourself because we're actually in the same room, so there might be some audio feedback. But yeah, pleasure, everyone. Super happy to be here. Super excited to put the SQL API on display and mess around with it, show the crazy things you can do with it, and then maybe get it in your hands and answer some questions. Happy to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Well, without further ado, to start off with, just for those of you that saw what we were working on before, we used to have this and still have our core API available as a REST API, and that makes it really easy to get all of the fundamental components and building blocks, all the core abstractions of blockchain data. But for a lot of analytics use cases and anything that's a little bit more specialized, it's really important to be able to craft queries yourself. We realized this because people would come to us every day with very specific, unique requests that you couldn't really handle with a basic REST API. So that's why we've launched Transpose SQL. It is one of several integration methods that we now support for all of our index data. So as a starting point, I'd like to maybe take a second and walk you guys through some of the data that we support. SQL extensibility. Okay, cool. Gonna keeping track of these questions in the messages. Thanks a lot. Keep them coming, guys. I'm gonna do a quick introduction on the playground and how all of this stuff works, and then in a little bit we'll turn over and make this a little more interactive and have you guys drive. So if there's anything in particular you all want to dive into, we'll absolutely cover that. So all right, let's chat about the playground. So first place to start, where I always like to go first, is our tables utility. This shows you what data is available in Transpose. We've organized everything into three concrete layers, where the settlement layer is the lowest one and the protocol layer is the highest one. We've had some bad experiences on other platforms at times trying to find the data that we're actually looking for. So organization and really consistent layering of all this data has been a big focus for us from the start. But just to start with the low level stuff real quick, we have all of the basic things you'd expect from like a node provider, except in this case indexed, all consistent, easily available, and most importantly, easy to join with all of the other data that we have. So this is all the stuff that we have at the settlement layer. Next, and more interesting, is the asset layer. So here we cover collections, NFTs, tokens, and the native token, as you can see here. And this gives you all of the basic asset level info. So we can dive into NFTs, collections, their owners, and transfers, but this doesn't give you a ton of context on how these assets are being used or interacted with. For that, we actually have to go a layer higher. This is the protocol layer, and this is where we add really a lot of value compared to a lot of the other data providers out there. We have a whole team of people dedicated to diving into all of these protocols, exploring them as they're being added to and as the space grows. So let's give a more concrete example and dive right into some queries here. NFT sales is a common one that people like to work with. So let's go ahead and start looking at our aggregate NFT sales table. So the way this works, we actually index all of the low-level protocols. As you can see here, they're all exposed in their own tables as well, but we want to look at all sales across all NFT exchanges. So we're going to go ahead and try pulling just the 100 most recent NFT sales overall. We're gonna select, we're always namespacing with the chain. At the moment, we only support Ethereum mainnet, but we're gonna be actually launching Polygon really soon. So we're very excited for that. Stay tuned for multi-chain support coming shortly. So we select the table that we're looking for. This is for those of you that have used like the Shroom DK or Dune, pretty familiar. We're gonna just go ahead and limit this and then execute our query. It runs really quickly. And we get back all of this cleaned info, including aggregators, although no aggregator transactions recently here. Oh, this is actually the first 100. Let's get the most recent 100. Here we go. So we have aggregator transactions included here, multi-token sales, although none showing up in this recent batch, and then critically just like really cleaned, parsed out buyer-seller data. And this is an example of how we deal with all of this protocol data. So the same thing applies for DEX swaps, liquidity, ENS names, tornado cash events and pools that we have here, and our token prices, price stream utility. So this is a basic starting point, but you can get a lot more creative. So let's try, for example, filtering this down and just looking at Bored Ape sales recently. We're going to say where contract address equals, and then I got to go dig up the Bored Ape contract. And then we can run this. And here we have all the most recent Bored Ape sales. So we can see exactly what the dollar value was. Things get pretty fun. This is really the most basic of what you can do with Transpose SQL. It's a good place to start for learning, but where things get really powerful is when we get a little more advanced. And to demonstrate some of that functionality, I'm going to head over to our Atlas. So this is a really cool utility that we've put together. This is basically a way to share queries created by the community and team. And we've already had some pretty neat submissions. So let's go ahead and check some of these out. Here, let me just see when Aptos. Yeah, I don't know about that. Thanks, Konstantinos. Good to see you here. Thanks for coming by. So yeah, let's check some of this stuff out. So there's been a lot of recent thinking about how to deal with floor price and how to think about floor price. There's obviously the main way people usually think about it is the off-chain listings approach, but that's actually been found to not be the most accurate way of thinking about floor price. There's an approach here which we have implemented that more accurately captures the actual price people can get filled at, and a couple of great community members out there, including Kofi and a couple of others who some of you may be familiar, have done a lot of work on this, but it takes a little longer to run. But here, this is a really cool query, and this is starting to demonstrate some of the power of Transpose SQL. This is what you can get into, where we can see floor prices that are over, I think we're looking at 0.1 ETH. Yeah, any floor prices where the old floor price was over 0.1 ETH, and then sorting them by percent change to see what's been going up the most. This is super neat, and it's always possible to expand on all of these queries, and this is why we love the Atlas, because it's a great way to share and take advantage of what other people have built. But it doesn't just cover NFT data. I mean, as you can see here, we have a whole host of types of data that we can get. So we can try a couple of others here, looking at tornado cash activity, for example. This is looking at activity across all the pools, and you can just see day by day. So let's see if the sanctions have been successful. Yeah, looks like we got way fewer withdrawals now than before. So here in July, we're in the mid hundreds, and then now we're down to teens in a lot of cases. So it's interesting. Easy way to get a lot of this data for your own analysis. So next thing I want to show you guys real quick. I mean, I'm playing as Kurt today. Haha. next thing I'm going to show you guys is exporting queries. This is where things get particularly powerful. We're not designed to primarily be a graphical way of exploring this data. I think that there's a huge need for that, but that's not the niche that we fill. We make it really easy to integrate this data into your production environment, into your Python environment. We do exports directly here, so you can go straight to CSV, for example, and just download this right away, and then you can access that for non-programmatic data access. And we're going to be adding support for bulk data dumps and other things in the very near future. Whoops. We'll be adding support for bulk data dumps in the very near future. But in the meantime, the easiest way to actually integrate is, let me just go ahead and take this query again. The easiest way to actually integrate is to copy the query export the query into our production environment. So we can just copy this here, and it'll take us directly to whatever our production environment is. So, I mean, at Transpose, we use a lot of Python. So all we'd need to do is copy this request here, and then we're off to the races. We can go and get all of this data directly into our production environment. Makes it really easy to iterate, to pull lots of data really quickly. And we find that this is super helpful for a lot of people. So yeah. So I'm just looking at the questions we got here in the chat. Yeah, Konstantinos, we've been working on the timeout. We're going to be launching the alpha for Transpose SQL probably at the end of the month, and that'll come with unlimited times for anyone on a paid tier, which actually doesn't mean the end of the world for everybody. As Helix mentioned at the start, we've provided a whole bunch of developer tiers to the Metrics DAO team to hand out to top X metric holders. So if you guys are engaged, you can get access to Transpose for free. So yeah, that's all coming soon. We're really excited about this. Analyzing the query execution. That is a great question. Let me take a moment to digress. I don't think we've added, have we added? No, okay, so we haven't added we're in the process of adding index information to all of the tables here so that you can see what we have indexes on. We build a lot of indexes on the columns that people most frequently use to pull data by. That's one of our real advantages and what makes us built for real-time use cases. Makes it really easy to pull all kinds of activity by wallet address, which is always super fun. But we are going to be adding support for like relaying query planner information to see if you're actually running on those indexes, to see why things are taking a long time. With how open-ended SQL can be, obviously it can be tricky to write optimized queries, but the Transpose team is always available to brainstorm queries and think through the best way to solve complex data problems. At this point, we've spoken with hundreds of builders working on really awesome and complicated blockchain data challenges and have helped them work through them. So we always love to shoot ideas around. So come stop by our Discord and ask us or reach out here and we'd be glad to address. Boxer, great question. So we typically index data within 5 seconds, and that's across the board, including NFT sales and all of that. We support live data. So let me go back in here. You can see here. So let's go to NFT sales. Actually, this is the best way to show is to demonstrate. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. So at the bottom of our NFT sales table, and for all activity-based tables, we can see this confirmed column that we have. So we pick up blocks within, like I said, typically 5 to 10 seconds of when they're written. Usually 5 is the ceiling, or 10 is the ceiling there. And they're initially marked as confirmed equals false. And basically, that means data that hasn't achieved finality. And this lets you deal with reorgs and stuff like that if you need really, really real-time use cases. And then as things are finally marked as confirmed after 2 epochs. In the case of proof of stake Ethereum, then they're actually recorded. Yeah, so with reorgs, we actually will get rid of the data from our tables, and we don't update balances until they've been finalized. So all balances are confirmed, but you can see unconfirmed activity and back into unconfirmed balances if necessary. It's definitely a really challenging problem, and I think there's no single correct way to address it. But we're pretty happy with the solution that we've built, and we find that it works for people. So yeah, interesting question.
One point here. If I can hop in for a second. I don't know if there's any feedback, Michael. You might have to mute yourself. Yeah. No, just to answer your second question, Boxer there. But the reorg handling happens at arbitrarily high levels of abstraction. So regardless of whether it's a low level settlement primitive like transactions, or builds on top of that is like NFT sales, or even builds on top of NFT sales like aggregates and whatnot that we expose, or in the case of DEX swaps, for example. DEX swaps are derived from traces and logs, which are all reorg handled. The DEX swaps themselves are also reorg handled, and we also expose a table called token prices. Michael, if you want to pull that up, called token prices, which is like cleaned USD prices derived from DEX swaps for every single token that's ever been swapped on Ethereum. And that's kind of like another order of derivation higher, and we'll still have reorg, fully handled. So yeah, hope that answers your question.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted after Alex was talking there. My apologies. I was just saying that that as Helix greatly pointed out, to read out the question. So the question we were just answering there is how we deal with reorgs and what our delay looks like for indexing. So thanks for the great questions there, Boxer. See
Do we
more
got any
questions
more
on the
questions?
horizon. Yeah, I see people typing. Cool. Well, yeah, in the meantime, can take a look through some of the queries that we got here in the Atlas. Let's see what people have been working on. We've had a few really fun submissions from the community here. It's been really cool. Check this one out. Top 50 externally owned accounts with leading zeros. Wow, there we go. 110 milliseconds to get that. So Terrell, you're asking any plans to expand to non-EVM chains, specifically Solana? That's a big question and a difficult question. We obviously want to have support for as many chains as possible. I think our priorities are covering all main EVM activity. After that, we're going to come to a decision point where we decide whether we want to delve into the Cosmos ecosystem or go towards Solana. There's going to be challenges integrating into a non-EVM. Constantina, that's a great question. Let's chat about it. We're ready to go. Polygon support, in all seriousness, is coming really soon. It's going to be the next chain we're launching. We're super excited to go cross-chain. Bringing the power of these queries to a cross-chain environment is going to be really awesome, and standardizing this data across chain is what we're especially excited for. So this week, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I say this week and then it's already Wednesday afternoon. So integrating with the API and how do we deal with the visualization? That's a great question. So funnily enough, the Playground was a pretty last minute addition to our SQL rollout. We had the idea for SQL like a week before we launched it. We were like, you know what, we really should be providing lower level access to all of this data. And then the weekend before launch, we were thinking like, well, why don't we have some kind of environment for people to explore like the schemas and maybe draft up some queries? That could be kind of fun. And we like threw something together pretty quickly initially. And people loved it. It ended up being a great bridge between what's possible in your production environment. And so the integration with the API, really the Playground is just calling the API behind the scenes with your own API key. So when I was demonstrating that query export here, that you can see, this is how the API works itself. I mean, we're just posting to sql.transpose.io with the SQL query in the body of our request. Super simple. Our big focus is to make that just like a seamless experience. So if anyone has any feedback on what their integration experience has been like, we're super keen to hear how that goes for you, because it's definitely tough to get up and running a lot of the times with various data providers. So that's kind of how the playground fits into things. It's the jumping off point, the starting point for deeper inquiry. Yeah, appreciate the support, and thanks for the question. Maybe one thing I'll touch on in the last few minutes as we have a little time here, and please, if anyone has any other questions, feel free to throw them out. Up next on our roadmap is a wider variety of integrations. I think this approach to enabling discovery and also building is a really, really big deal. So we're working on webhooks, we're working on WebSockets. We've also got enterprise-facing solutions that we're developing for really large-scale data consumption, and that stuff is all coming soon. So I see another question here from AE Monk. What about EVM chains in the Polkadot ecosystem? That is an interesting question. We haven't explored that very much yet, to be honest. I think our focus has been trying to deal with all the main EVMs and L2s and all that. But as a next place to go after that, I don't see why not. I mean, anything that's EVM compatible has fundamentally the right data structures for us to work with. There is a question of the node types that are supported just in terms of our infrastructure. But we'll absolutely note down the interest and keep that in mind. Yeah, interesting question, GivenX, about any ideas on hosting community-built dashboards like in Dune and Flipside. So I don't, like I kind of mentioned earlier, our approach is a little different. We're not trying to create a great tool for visualizations. We're trying to create really flexible piping that lets you build your own visualizations if you want. So, so with that in mind, we do have this atlas that we've released, and this is a very recent addition to Transpose, but one that we want to take a larger and larger focus over time. We have some really cool functionality that we're developing for parameterization of these queries. So instead of having like a contract address, let me see if this might be a good example. Okay, no, not here. But if you have things that have hard coded addresses, like here for example, where we're hard coding the address, we're working on a way to make it really easy to parameterize this stuff so that you can post these queries and have anybody use them much more easily for their own use cases. And this is really building into, I think, addressing a lot of the same problems that people have. And we're working on a lot of exciting ways to incentivize communities to contribute, to get people involved. We're going to be showcasing, actually, Shock, great. I was about to talk about that. We're going to be showcasing a leaderboard on our landing page as soon as we launch an update for that. We've been hard at work on it. Default caching for a new query. Alex, you want to take that one in chat? Yeah, the leaderboard is an interesting one, though. I mean, we obviously want to elevate and really demonstrate how people are using Transpose, and so this is it's an awesome way to get people involved, and we're going to absolutely, that's going to be one of the main components on our landing page soon. So we'll be working on that. We're really excited to roll that out and really bring things to the next level here, and excited to see how you guys all are going to use Transpose. So I know we're coming up on time here, and I want to be mindful of those who have other commitments. No worries if you have to drop off, but I'm free for a little bit after this, so I'm going to hang out here. If anyone has any other questions, I can hang out for a little while, but if not, it's been a real pleasure showing you all the SQL playground. Don't hesitate to reach out with any questions, comments. We love to hear feedback. We love to brainstorm queries, like I mentioned. And yeah, thanks to the solid Metrics DAO team for organizing once again. You guys are fantastic. Helix especially, for really taking point on all that. It's been great. Always a pleasure working with you. Yeah, and thank you everybody, Marina as well.
Definitely. The pleasure is definitely mutual. Great to see everything that's now possible with your new tool. And I think you gave a great demo. And it was awesome that you could get to all the questions. I'm seeing more appear in the in the chat still. So like Michael said, we
Mm-hmm.
can definitely stay hanging out and get to some more questions. Um, but you're also right that some people might have to go. So I'll give it like a soft wrap up for those people because we still got a couple announcements that we want to make. Um, for the people who've been noticing our Twitter today, it's absolutely rating bounties. So we extended the deadline on the Terra and the hack scandals and scams bounties. Both are you can win up to 500 USDC plus 1,000 metric. The same goes for Sushi Swap, which went up today. That's another bounty. And then we got another bounty for Biconomy that focuses on teamwork and mega dashboards, and you can earn up to 1,800 USDC. So it's raining bounties this week. So check out our actually, we'll drop it in the chat, and you can also find it on our Twitter. Then we also got this weekend a new behind the charts interview coming up on our blog, so stay tuned for that. And next week we got a community call, so you can find out how to participate at Metrics DAO. That will be in our Discord on Tuesday. And then we got another event the day after about how I broke into Web3 with Sam, which is the former community manager at Flipside, on Twitter Spaces. So check us out for that. And we'll be doing more demos like today, of course. Um, so keep an eye out. And also, if you're interested in actually doing a demo, feel free to reach out to us. So to me, Marina, anybody on the Metrics DAO team that you know. So thank you for being here today, for joining us. Thanks again, Transpose, Michael, Alex. That was awesome. And that's it from me. So with that being said, if people still got questions, let's get to it.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for that outro, Helix. Yeah, I saw a question about how competitive we are with Flipside and Dune. So I think all three of us are focusing on kind of different parts of the data space. And obviously, I mean, on a really basic level, we all make blockchain data more accessible to people, but we're all pretty focused on different things. So Dune obviously is really focused on building out their great visualizations. They're a great analytics tool. I mean, they're obviously launching their API at the moment as well, but it's not really focused on doing the kinds of queries that Transpose excels at. And even the types of queries that a column-oriented database like Dune is optimized for, even on those, because we're optimized for real-time use, we tend to outperform. So it's definitely for a different type of use. If what you want is the simplest way to build a pretty chart in their environment, that's probably the way to go. But if you actually want to download all this data yourself and be able to use it for your own analysis to power your own creations and what you're working on, then and we think Transpose works better. So for really a different application there. And with Flipside, I mean, Flipside is a lot more focused on charting the uncharted and working on bringing visibility to other chains and actually figuring out how to parse through blockchain data. We're really working on dealing with creating our own standardizations that we provide and getting builders access to that data in a really timely fashion. So it's an interesting question, and yeah, appreciate that. Um, yeah, happy to. If you guys want to just unmute yourselves, if anyone has any questions. Um, yeah, so Covalent definitely is more similar in terms of their desired use case, but um, yeah, I mean, definitely we launched seeing what Covalent did and wanting to fix a lot of the mistakes there. I mean, I definitely respect a lot of the hard work that they've done over the years for the data space, but we're really more focused on providing just access to all of this data in a really consistent manner. I mean, they went cross-chain pretty quickly too, perhaps too quickly, which kind of limits the scope of the types of data they can provide everywhere. Whereas we focused on much more complete, comprehensive coverage, which has given us the opportunity to have simpler schema and really focus in on the abstractions that we use. But yeah, it's an interesting point there, given. Awesome, everyone. Well, it looks like we don't have any more questions. If anyone else has anything, please don't hesitate to come find us in our Discord or ping me here in the Metrics DAO Discord. And happy to answer any other questions, do deep dive on how to actually get up and running, bug fix queries or issues, or really anything at all. And we're always keen to hear feedback as well. So don't hesitate to stop by. If that's okay with the Metrics DAO team, I'll post the link to our Discord. Does that work for you guys?
Yes, 100%. I was going to ask, where can people best find you?
Yeah, let me get this here. Here is the link. That's not the link. I suppose. All right, there we go. So yeah, come on through and yeah, hit us up anytime. The team is always around to answer questions or just chat blockchain data. We love this stuff. We'll talk about it all day. We do talk about it all day. So come join our discussion. And yeah.
So in the Discord, right? For our listeners. Right.
Yeah,
so
our Discord.
In your Discord and on Twitter, you're Transpose Data, right? At Transpose Data.
Yes. Feel free to add us if any tweets that we should get involved in, or if you have questions or anything. Always love to get to engage. So yeah.
Awesome. I think that was great. On to the next one. Let's say I'd be curious to see what you guys have cooked up in, let's say, another 2 months. We can do another demo maybe.
Just wait. Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to be back. It's always a pleasure working with your community here. Thanks a lot for having us again, guys.
Definitely. So mutual.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.